everyone, it's Michelle and I'm super excited to be here today because I get to tackle a couple of the prompts for DEPHEMEREMBER. No, I know that's wrong, but you know what I mean. I'm going to tackle it with one of my other loves and passions, which is polymer clay. And the reason I'm tackling it is because I want to show my paper people how clay can make such a huge difference in your paper crafting and how easy it is to use. So I'm going to tackle two of the prompts today. I'm going to tackle the buttons and I'm going to tackle the tag with napkin, and I'm going to do it with clay. And I'm going to edit it down quite a bit because it would take too much time, not because it's complicated, but just because it's two projects and I'm wordy. So let's begin. So we're going to use very few materials here, and we're going to make our own homemade clay buttons, and we're going to make our homemade clay tags, both of which do really, really well with napkins on top or paper on top or glossy accents. It is a really fun thing to do, is to work with polymer clay in conjunction with your paper crafts. So I use Sculpey most of the time, but I will also use Michael's brand name. Fimo I find to be very, very stiff, and it's actually very good for jewelry makers. And if you are making real buttons that would be going on a sweater, I would definitely say you should use the Fimo brand because it's harder, but it's also very hard on your hands. So as more of just a beginner clay or a clay that you're just using as an accent on a paper craft, Sculpey is more than fine. And a brick costs anywhere between $2 and $3, and it goes a long way. So I'm going to just use white, and this is actually translucent. Either of these would be all you would need, because you can paint polymer clay, you can glue paper to polymer clay. Honestly, anything that you want to do, you could do with polymer. So just get a basic color. So I've already conditioned it, which is the only thing I'm going to tell you you have to do. And that's because you want to activate the polymers, you want to work out any air bubbles, and you want to make it nice and soft, or soft enough for you to work with. So the only thing you're going to need today is a hard surface, which I'm just using a tile from like a, like you tile your floor. This is an extra tile. So it's just like from the big box store, just a remnant off the rack. Or you could use any hard surface to roll it out. And I just wouldn't use a food surface that's porous because it is clay. But other than that, you just rolling it down on something flat, or take a piece of wax paper and put it down and roll it out on that parchment paper, tape it down, and then throw the parchment paper away. Either way, you don't really need clay materials to do this. I just roll it in a ball, and then I use something to roll it out. Now, if you have a hard rolling pin, you can use that if you can clean it well afterwards. Don't use wood, because again, it's clay and that's porous. But anything to roll it out. You could even use a glass jar, anything round, and you're just going to roll it out as if you were rolling out cookies. And because buttons, I'm going to make the buttons first. I want them to be sort of a button thickness. I will roll them to a thickness that I think works well with buttons. And then all I need is to cut them out, just like you would cut out something like Christmas cookies. And I'm just going to cut out a few shapes like this. I have a smaller circle and a bigger circle. I think the one I'm using right now is more typical to a button size, so I'm going to stick with that for a minute. And then all I have to do is take a pokey tool, which we all have, and I'm just going to make the center holes. Literally, that's it. What you just saw me do is all you need to do to make the button base, which then we can add paper on the top too. We can add napkin transfer to the top of, which I think I will probably be doing, since I'm going to be doing the napkin transfer on the tags. You can make 4 holes. You can make 2 holes. You just want to make sure those holes are big enough. This one I accidentally marked a little bit with the edge of my cutter, so I'm just gonna work that out, smooth it out with my finger. I mean, that's literally how easy it is to work with. And if you screwed up a button, guess what? You just roll it back into a ball and start again. It's really, really not hard to do. Okay, so you're saying, but I don't have a cookie cutter to cut out my clay. That's fine. As a paper crafter, you might not, and you don't need to. We all have these, right? We use these for putting alcohol ink on and smushing it in. We use it for putting our rubber stamps on. Well, you can also use it to make perfect circles. So let's say we want to make tiny buttons, or we just don't have a cookie cutter that we can use for our buttons. Then all we're going to do is take our clay and roll it into little balls like this. I absolutely love junk journaling, art journaling, and all kinds of paper craft. But if you didn't know, I was a polymer clay teacher and artist for many years before I found junk journaling. I haven't been doing as much clay because I've been so into my paper, but I do still really love it. And I have found it's a really great product to use with your junk journaling. And I have a lot of videos on my channel that do incorporate things that, you could use. So I have these little balls. Now I'm going to take this, and all I'm going to do is press down until I find the size of the button I want. I don't know if you could see that. It makes a perfect circle. No cutting at all. In some ways it's better because the edges are rounder. The only thing you have to worry about is if you don't press down, even, you can have it, let me show you. It can end up looking good on top, but then it's kind of like thinner here and thicker there. So you just got to make sure you press down with equal pressure. But as you can see, those little buttons are smaller than these. I made them in seconds. And the same thing, I'm just going to make 2 little holes in them. It's literally as easy as that. Yesterday when we watched Barbara do them, she was doing some stars. You can even make star buttons. Now this guy is pretty big, but I'm still going to make one just to show you. Excellent. All right, so I'm going to put those over here on this paper plate just to get them out of the way. And let's move on to tags. Okay, I'm going to condition some more clay because I don't have enough. And conditioning the clay, like I said, it's the only important step I really need to stress, and that is basically kneading it in your hands until it all comes together and is a nice, soft, manageable clay. And you can get colors, every color of the rainbow. You can get sparkle glitter clay. You can get different effect clay. It's really such a wonderful material. And I love the fact, because you bake it in the oven, it will be done in a half an hour. So you can make a batch of buttons in the morning and be working on them a couple hours afterwards, which is amazing. So one of the tools I have is a blade. You can use an X-Acto knife. You could use any kind of blade you have. And basically what I want to do is the same thing I did before. I'm just going to take a ball, flatten it down to get it started, and then I'm going to roll it. Now, when I think of a tag, I think of the traditional tag shape, and I think I want to make this relatively thin, because if I was using it in a junk journal or on a present, I wouldn't want it to be ultra thick. So that's pretty thin. And now all I have to do is cut it in the shape of a tag. And then that's your tag shape. I'm going to take a straw and just go on the top and make a hole. Peel it up. And that's our tag out of clay. I'm going to place it on this tile because I'm actually going to use this tile to bake these as well. Now I can make short tags, big tags, little tags. I think I'm going to make some little tags. And as I'm thinking, I have a little bit of an idea of something I want to try. And as I cut them, I will tell you about that in a minute. But let me just say that if you are more interested in learning about polymer clay, I have lots of videos. I actually have an ornament video I made last year, which does this whole basic process for easy ornaments with napkin transfers. They are so fun. They are so easy. They make great gifts. They make great additions to packages. And that video is on my YouTube. I'll link it below, as well as a project I did with another YouTube paper crafter, Sharon from Mad Paper Crush, where she offered a free freebie, and we were working together in a collaboration last year to make Papercraft clay. So I will put those videos down below, but since this is all about Barbara and Louise's collaboration, we will get back to that. I don't want to distract too much from that. Now this is kind of a longer tag. I guess I could also, let's see, I could also corner it off and make it a curved tag if I take the corner of this cookie cutter, couldn't I? Let's see if I can do that. Make it even. And again, I made a little dent. That's okay. I'm just going to rub it out. No harm, no foul. I'm going to place that right over there. And any bumps or imperfections that you get during this stage, you can sand them out afterwards. It's really not a problem. All right, let's make a couple more. And I didn't put a hole in that one, and I'm going to show you why in a minute, because I have an idea. I like to use polymer clay because it's cheap, it's very intuitive. You don't need a lot of special tools. You can make so many wonderful accessories for paper crafting using it. It's sturdy enough to make accessories and embellishments. Now see, I'm just going to mark where the two corners. That's going to give me a guide to mark the top. Oh, it looks like I'm almost cutting a little tiny house. And then I'm going to cut that top. But I'm not. I'm just doing the tack. And I'll rub that little line out after. Ta-da! Move that guy over here. And look at, like, when I moved him, he got a little wonky on the bottom. That's okay. You can use an X-Acto knife. You know, I just push the corners nice and flat. All right. And yes, I know there's no holes on these tags yet. I will get to that. Let me add these back because I'm going to bake on here. All right, one last thing I want to show you. Okay, so we have embossing powder, right? A lot of us have this. Let me show you how great embossing powder works on polymer clay. So you see your polymer clay. You just dip your finger in it and rub it right in to the button. And it makes them sparkly, and it will bake right into the clay. So I'm going to do a few blue ones because I just had a great idea, or what I think is a great idea. We'll find out if it's a great idea after. Maybe I'll be like, Michelle, that really wasn't that great of an idea. I'm thinking, what if I made a snowman button card and made the buttons as his buttons on his belly, like on his coat, like we do on a snowman. Let me do a couple like gold ones. So now if I want to do these, right? This is why my fingernails are always gross, because I'm sticking my fingers into everything. Look how nice and gold that is. And I could use gilding wax on the polymer after, but you know why? These are going to bake in and they're going to be permanently gold. And how awesome is that? Okay, so after I do this, I'm going to throw this in the oven at 275 for 20 minutes. Oh, no, wait, I didn't do the holes. You're screaming at me. You're screaming at me through the camera, and I hear you. Okay, to make it quick, I'm just going to speed this up. I have 2 regular eyelets that you use in Papercraft, and I'm just pressing them into the clay. You have to make sure that the shaft of the eyelet isn't too long, or you'll have to set it ahead of time. Or you can just place the holes in ahead of time and then do the placement after they're baked. But here I am using the eyelets to cut the holes so I know they're the exact right size for the eyelets. And then I'm taking the pokey tool to be able to take the little clay out of the center. Okay, so here are our tags and buttons just out of the oven. And I wanted to show you how easy it is now. You could just literally let this sit on your counter and cool and harden on its own, which would probably take about, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes. Or if you're impatient like me, you can use the ice water trick. Not only does it make your clay projects completely ready to use within seconds, but also I hear the rumors say that it makes things a little bit stronger because the ice water seizes the clay and pulls it all together. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but I'm lazy and an impatient person, so this works for me. So one thing I do want to show you, and I'm going to try to do this one-handed, is when clay first comes out of the oven, it's very like rubbery. And that's when it can break very, very easy. So you do have to be very gentle with it when it's getting to the point where it's getting hard. But watch what happens when I put it into ice. I'm just going to put it in the ice for a few seconds. And then when I take it out, you're going to see that it's already hard. Look at. So it's already hardening up really nice. I can already work with it and it would already be ready for me to do a project on. So what I'm going to do is start taking these off and putting them in the ice water so that I can take them up into my workroom and we can do the paper part of this project. And I don't need to be gentle with them now. They are ready to go. Okay, so we're ready. Our projects are all cool and ready to go. And as you can see, they're hard, but they're not very thick, no thicker than a piece of cardboard. And we are ready to start. So I think what I want to do for the button card is make a snowman button card, because everything I'm doing with this challenge, I am doing with sort of a holiday feel. So I have this already prepared to get, the kind that you can buy in a package, and I had already dyed it with some alcohol inks and probably a little coffee staining as well. And I'm going to add a little bit more coffee to this just because, number one, it's the challenge and I don't want to get in trouble with Louisa and Barbara, but also because I think it'll make it add a little bit more depth to our project, because I'm going to keep my snowman, I think, pretty simple so that those buttons and everything really shine through. So I'm just going to put that there and let that coffee set in and soak in and dry. And I'll put that aside. Okay, so for my idea about the snowman, I thought what I would do is just use simple punches to punch my snowman out. I like the idea of this silver-ish kind of gray paper, but I'm going to also default to whatever. So let's see. I'm not sure I want a giant snowman, but I cut that one just in case. Let's get my tag back and see the size it would be if I use the really big one. Maybe I would rather use the small one. I'm gonna I think the small one works best if I wanted to put decorations around it. But then the question is, how many buttons could I put on? So let's get a few of my buttons. Well, I could put 2 buttons here. And then I could put two buttons there, but although I'm not jazzed about those. What if I do with a smaller head and the bigger body? Which is kind of fun sometimes to have your dimensions be a little bit, you know, you play with your well, I could get 3 buttons on there, which I think is kind of cute. So the question is, do I want white or do I want... The other thing I could do is I could cut it out of paper. I could cut it out of a book page. Let's see about that. Hold on. I have a Frosty the Snowman book. I'm wondering if I could cut it out of here and have words that have to do with snowman. I might have to go on the smaller side because there's not a lot of text. I like the fact that it says snowballs on here and snowy and snowman. So I'm going to have to just give this image up, but I'm okay with that. So I think what I want to do is I'll do the big circle first. That way if I change my mind, I can always make it smaller. And it says Frosty the Snowman actually on the top, which I love. And let's see if I can make the head. This is snowballs. And then if I put the buttons on, oh, I like that. I think I'm going to go with that. Okay, so we will use these circles in another project. So I'm going to ink the edges, and I think I'm going to do it in a blue because I think that will give me a better color that I'm looking for. I am just loving watching everybody's videos. The button cards, oh gosh, I love watching Barbara make her own buttons. It was really inspirational to me. And Louisa, I love that you used your grandmother's buttons. I too have such fond memories of going through my grandmother and mother's buttons. I used to love sorting them, and I can't remember on sick days for some reason, like pouring them out and just looking at them. Sorry about my dogs. I'm going to have to go take care of them. We're probably getting a delivery. Okay, so the first thing I think I want to do is glue on his head so that I know where all the placement goes. Just going to glue the edge like that. You know what? I should put the scarf before, and it would be fun if I had a little textile. Let me see if I can get a little ribbon. So I have this blue polka dot ribbon, and I'm thinking, because I want it to sort of have that winter feel. All right, I can put that ribbon underneath his head so that it looks like a scarf here. Glue that down, just like that. Or maybe I'll put that a little bit behind so we can see that it says Frosty. And I'm going to use some Fabri-Tac here. I'm going to just fray up the edge a little bit because it is supposed to be a scarf. And if I do this side, it looks a little bit more like a snowman, right? I could glue that, twist that just a little bit. We'll see when I lay it down how I want it. Okay, so now I definitely know I want the buttons. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue down where I want the buttons. I'm going to end up sewing them on, but I just don't want them to move. Okay, my 3 buttons. Now for his eyes, oh, what do I want for his eyes? I think eyes are sort of an important thing. I don't think I want button eyes, but maybe I want traditional button eyes, little black ones. The face, that's going to be tricky. I got to think about that. I think I've decided to keep it simple because I want the buttons to stand out. So I'm just going to hole punch in this black cardstock for his eyes and his nose and his mouth. Well, for his mouth. And I'll have to maybe put something a little orange for his nose. Ooh, look at all those little guys in there. I guess I hadn't emptied out for a while. I'm gonna put a hat on him, so I'm gonna put his eyes on the lower side. Maybe I won't even put a little mouth on him because I really love just how simple those eyes are. Let me see how it looks with the coal. I guess I will have to make a decision. All right, he's kind of cute. I think he's kind of cute. I think I'm going to stick with the face maybe. All right, so for his hat, maybe I'll use this sparkly paper for his hat. Like a little top hat, right? All right, let's see how this fits on our card. It does fit. So, and I like how it goes off a little bit. And I also think what I might do is throw some stitches around this tag and a little bit on his hat. So I'll be right back. Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit. And where'd my hat go? And did we decide to do the mouth? Which do you think is cuter, guys? Is it cuter to have the whole face? I'm missing a black. Is it cuter to have the whole face? Or is it cuter just to have the nose? I think it's cuter just to have the nose. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it, so put that in the comments. I'm going to glue the nose, and then I'm going to go and quickly just put thread through the buttons. I don't think you need to watch me do that. I feel like my videos are so long. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I was going to do the sewing off camera, but then I had an idea, and I figured I would go back on camera because it is part of my process, and then it makes a lot more sense. I think I want to tie the buttons front to make the buttons catch your eye a little bit more. Let's see. I'm not sure if it's going to work. I also think it will make it very neat on the back. So I'm going to go through, and then I'm going to tie on the top of the button and then trim, do a little dotted knot. And I guess I like the idea of it adding a little bit more texture. You know, maybe other people would not like that and would just want that really smooth, the really smooth look that you would get from doing a button correctly. And then you could just have 3 ties in the back, which could be cute too. But I don't know. For some reason, this is what's making me... I could also try to do a bow. I don't know if I would like a bow on top of it. Let's see. But it's all these little details, right, that give your project's personality. I will never be able to tie that bow. Or on a package, or maybe when you're giving a gift, a bottle of wine, hanging it across the front. I love that it has the Frosty the Snowman. Love that. So the only thing I think I want to do now is some snow stamping in the corner there, but I don't. So let me see what I can do. I could put, you know, I could put little white snowflakes around with my white pen for sure, just to give it the little snow feel. I don't know if you can see that. I'll make little dots too, just to give the background a little bit more. And then I think I might type buttons on, I wonder if I could type it on here. Folks, look what I just did. I just literally spilt that whole cup of coffee I was using on the floor. Why I put it down on the floor is beyond me, but that's a mess. Luckily, that's a rubber back rug, so I can take it out and hose it off. So there's my buttons. I'm going to rip this like this, with a little bit of sparkle. And I'm going to glue that on. I think I want it, I guess I could put it right there. I could go a little diagonal. Let's see. I just kind of feel like it needs to be. Isn't that funny how we scrutinize the placement of everything? I think I'm going to put it there. And then all I need is a little something on top to make this tag. Finished. Okay, maybe I'm totally overdoing this theme, but look at this trim. How fun would that be to have that, because it's like snowballs. But the trick is, how would I get it through? I'm going to snip this snowball off so I have an idea. I'm thinking maybe I could, there's no way I can get the snowballs through there. But if I cut a couple snowballs off, I may be able to just pass this through like that, and then pass them through there. You know what's so fun about these challenges is, like, literally I had an idea, let's make clay buttons in a snowman card with absolutely no idea how I was going to execute it. And I'm not even saying I executed it well. Obviously, that's still out for debate. And now look at this. I don't even know what I'm doing here. I'm completely befuddled. I think I need one more off is the problem, because it needs to be big enough to go through. But what I'm saying is, it's just so fun once you get going and your creative juices get going. You just start going, well, what about this idea? And what about that idea? And even if all the ideas don't end up being great, just that creative process of problem solving is sometimes where you get your most innovative and creative ideas. You got to start somewhere, and sometimes it's such a great jumping off point. I think I have them all through. Why isn't it pulling? I have a lone, sort of strange. Okay, so basically now I just got to trim here. And I'm going to trim this one and leave this one hanging in the front. Look at that guy little hanging in front. Let me zoom out. All right, so here is my button card. I could trim this guy off if he's too distracting. I haven't decided. Should I trim him off? Let me know what you think. I think he came out pretty fun. We have our coffee dyed tag in the back, our paper that's from Frosty with our little scarf, and then our handmade buttons that are blue and sparkly, which you can't tell too much because the light is terrible here today. There, you can kind of see. And this is my prompt number 5, I think, which is coffee and button card. So I'm going to wrap up here, clean up this mess, hose off that rug, and then I'll come to do the tags in 6. That'll be another video. Hopefully that'll get up soon, and thanks for joining me. Bye.